Imagine a world where the whole way we think about society, education, even our relationships gets flipped upside down, all by one really radical idea, the infinite power of the individual soul.
Right.
Welcome to our deep dive into Ralph Waldo Emerson. He's profound, sometimes surprising, and his ideas still really challenge us today.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And today, we're going to unpack a bunch of his key writings. We've got excerpts from his essential writings, got his big essay, Nature, that really controversial Harvard Divinity School address, his notes on English traits, and the later stuff like Conduct of Life. Our goal here is basically to pull out the core insights, give you a shortcut to understanding why Emerson still feels so relevant, maybe even startling.
Exactly. A guide to Emerson. And to really get his ideas about individualism, we kind of have to start where he started his connection to nature and the soul. So let's jump into what we're calling the soul's lens: nature, language, revelation.
Okay, so the foundation is really laid out in his 1836 essay, Nature. Pretty early work. He basically says the universe boils down to two things: nature and the soul.
Simple enough.
Oh, yeah, but then he defines nature as everything that isn't the soul. So your own body, other people, art, the whole external world, he labels all of that the not me.
Wow. Okay, so everything outside your own consciousness is the not me. That really puts the individual self front and center, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You, your inner spirit, become the lens, which leads right into how he thinks we should experience nature. He famously says, few adult persons can see nature.
Right. He thought most adults just have this really superficial view.
Exactly. He contrasts it with how a child sees things, or a true lover of nature whose senses are perfectly tuned. And this is where we get that famous phrase, becoming a transparent eyeball.
Ah, yes, the transparent eyeball, feeling like you're part or parcel of God.
It's not just poetry. He's suggesting a really direct, intuitive way of engaging with the world. For him, real understanding, even spiritual truth, isn't in books or following rules. It's in that unfiltered experience.
Which must have been pretty radical back then, maybe even more so for us now, with, screens everywhere.
Totally. And he believed nature had this incredible power to repair things. Disgrace, calamity, nature could sort of wash it away.
And it wasn't just something pretty to look at, or even just a feeling. For Emerson, nature was more active than that.
Oh, definitely. He saw it as a vehicle of thought. Nature is language. Words, he says, are just signs for natural facts. And those natural facts, they're symbols of spiritual facts.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Natural facts are symbols of spiritual facts.
Yeah, think about it. He points out how words for abstract moral ideas like right, meaning correct, originally meant straight, or wrong meant twisted.
Ah, I see. Borrowed directly from the physical world.
Exactly. So the physical world is constantly feeding us symbols for deeper spiritual truths. It's like there's this universal code embedded in reality.
So if nature is this divine language, how does that connect to human language, like writing and speaking?
Well, he thought good writing, good speaking happens when it taps into that. He called it perpetual allegory. When you have a genuine thought, a material image just sort of pops into your head to express it. It's organic.
Like a natural connection between the idea and the image.
Right. And this flows straight into his idea of revelation, which for him wasn't about predicting the future or, clinging to ancient texts.
No. What was it then?
It was an influx of the divine mind into our mind, like a direct download of truth.
Okay.
An intuitive flash of understanding coming from within, connecting your soul directly to universal law, not from some external authority.
So it's deeply personal.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Which led him to say some pretty controversial things, like if you have to teach the doctrine of immortality separately, man's already fallen. Because you're truly connected, you just know it's eternal.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Wow. Okay, that intense focus on the inner experience, the soul. It makes sense, then, that his next big theme is the power of the individual. Let's shift to that, the sovereign self, individualism and character.
Yeah, and the American scholar oration is key here. People called it a powerful statement of individualism. It really set the stage for his constant message. Trust yourself.
And that fifth line, envy is ignorance, that imitation is suicide, that's blunt.
It really is. He's basically saying trying to be someone else isn't just a bad idea. It's destroying your own unique potential, killing off what makes you you.
Don't be a copy. Find your original.
Exactly. And this ties into his concept of character, which isn't just about personality traits.
No. What is it then?
He describes it as a reserved force, something that acts directly, just by presence, without means. It's this powerful, almost invisible energy that makes someone greater than just their actions.
Like a kind of personal gravity.
Yes, sort of. He uses Hercules as an example. Says Hercules conquered just by being there, whether he was standing, walking, or sitting. It's about who you fundamentally are, not just what you achieve.
That's a powerful idea. And it informs his view of society, which could be pretty critical. He said man does not stand in awe of man, and society can just be a mob.
He wasn't a fan of conformity. He championed what he called spiritual isolation.
Which sounds lonely, but you mean something else.
Right. It's not about being a hermit. It's about mental and spiritual independence, not letting the crowd dictate your thoughts or actions. He said, no man can come near me but through my act. You control access to your inner self.
You choose who influences you.
Precisely. And he applied this critique to institutions too, like colleges. He felt they focused too much on drilling information, not sparking creativity. He said they should aim not to drill, but to create.
Makes you wonder what he'd think of education today, doesn't it? Are we creating or just drilling? Something to think about.
Definitely. And this connects to his political thinking too. He saw a trend towards self-government. Individuals relying on their own internal moral compass, their rewards and penalties of his own constitution.
From morality comes from within, not just external laws.
Right. And he even floated this idea, quite radical, that the power of love as the basis of a state has never been tried.
Wow. Love as the basis of government.
Yeah. And he believed people have a right not just to basic freedoms, but to be employed, to be trusted, to be loved, to be revered. It's a much bigger vision of human rights, focused on recognizing the full worth of each person.
That's a huge idealistic vision. And it leads perfectly into how he thought about our closest relationships. Let's talk about the true alliance of Emerson on friendship.
Right, because even Emerson, Mr. Individualism, felt that perpetual disappointment with actual society. He complained that friendships often hurry to short and poor conclusions.
Why? What was wrong with them?
He thought they were often built on superficial things, wine and dreams, he called it, instead of real substance, tough fiber. His standards were incredibly high.
So what was his ideal? What was he looking for?
He called true friendship the solidest thing we know, a masterpiece of nature. It wasn't just finding someone you liked. It was seeing the semblance of my being in all its height, variety, and curiosity reiterated in a foreign form.
Okay, seeing yourself reflected, but like amplified in someone else.
Exactly, profound kind of recognition. But, and this is crucial, he didn't want an echo.
Yo.
Definitely not. He has that amazing line, better be a nettle in the side of your friend than his echo.
Ouch. A nettle. Why the sting?
Because he believed true friendship needed challenge, honesty. It required very two before there can be very one. Two distinct, strong individuals. An alliance, he said, of two large, formidable natures, mutually beheld, mutually feared.
Mutually feared. That sounds intense. Not about being scared of each other, surely.
No, it's about deep respect for each other's power, independence, and individuality. The nettle is the friend who tells you the hard truths, who pushes you, who doesn't just flatter you. That tension creates growth.
So it's about authenticity and challenge, not just comfort.
Right. And he wanted this ideal grounded in reality. Friendship needed feet as well as eyes and eloquence.
Feet, meaning practical.
Yeah, grounded in everyday virtues, justice, punctuality, fidelity, and pity. Not just high-minded talk or modish and worldly alliances. He actually said he preferred hanging out with plowboys and tin peddlers over silken and perfumed amity.
Huh. Okay, so he valued genuine character over social status, even in friendship. Substance over style.
Absolutely. Authenticity was key.
Okay, so from the personal sphere of friendship, let's broaden out again to the world stage. Emerson's observations on England and his ideas about wealth and society. Let's call this the world stage.
Sounds good. In Conduct of Life, he talks about wealth. He sees this iron law in nature. Each man should feed himself. Pretty straightforward. But then he says man is born to be rich.
Rich? In what sense? Just money?
Not entirely. Yes, material wealth plays a part, but it's broader. It's about being able to avail himself of all men's faculties, to use the collective skills and knowledge of humanity. The world becomes your tool chest.
So wealth is access to resources, including human ingenuity.
Right. And ultimately, he says, the real price of labor is knowledge and virtue. So true wealth is tied up with understanding and moral character, not just cash.
Interesting perspective. And how did this relate to his observations of England? He visited, right? What did he make of the English?
He did. And he had some sharp observations in English traits. He noted their Their passion for utility, their focus on practical results, working plans, not just theories, and their absolute horror of humbug.
Horror of humbug. Like they couldn't stand phoniness.
Exactly. He tells these great anecdotes, like the guy who literally stopped an opera because he decided the bridge on stage looked unsafe.
No way.
Yeah. Or the challenge to spiritualists. Prove your powers by telling us the serial number on a banknote sealed in a vault, and you get 100 pounds. Very practical, very blunt. He called it their stolidity.
A kind of down-to-earthness, maybe bordering on stubbornness.
Perhaps. And he saw this paradox in England. On one hand, incredible wealth and power. He attributed it to their constitutional fertility and the goblin of steam industrial power. By 1854, he figured their machines did the work of 600 million men.
Wow, the Industrial Revolution in full swing.
Totally. But on the other hand, he felt they had this arrested development when it came to bigger ideas, things of general and lasting import. Like they were masters of the material world, but maybe lagging in philosophy or spirituality.
So a practical genius, but maybe limited in the abstract.
That's how he saw it. Though he did praise their freedom, calling it double-edged, complex view. He also questioned their ideas of racial purity, quoting Defoe, calling the English the mud of all races, yet they had this strong identity.
Interesting. And what about language?
He made this really interesting point that in England, the language of the noble is the language of the poor, because everyone drew from the same core sources: the Bible, common law, Shakespeare. A shared cultural foundation despite the class divisions.
That is interesting, a unifying element.
Yeah.
Okay, so putting all this together, the focus on the soul, self-reliance, his views on society and nations, how does this play out in the American context? Let's get into the final section. The American experiment, faith, freedom, and true genius.
Right. And we have to circle back to that Harvard Divinity School address. It caused a huge scandal.
What exactly? What did he say that was so shocking?
He basically argued that historical Christianity focused way too much on the person of Jesus. He said, the soul knows no persons. He felt divinity wasn't located in just one historical figure, but was accessible to every soul, directly.
So de-emphasizing Jesus, emphasizing the individual soul's direct connection to the divine.
Exactly. He thought the church's focus on tradition and the person of Jesus actually destroys the power of preaching because it ignored the moral nature of man, that inner light. It was a call for spiritual self-reliance, find God within.
A radical departure from orthodoxy, for sure. And that strong moral compass, that reliance on inner truth, it fueled his stance on slavery, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He called slavery a filthy institution. He saw the emancipation of the British West Indies not just as a political act, but as a day of reason, a concrete fact that proved ethical principles could win out.
A fact proving an idea.
Yeah. And he pointed out how the oppression hurt the oppressors too, the slaveholders. He said the injustice recoiled on them, morally, spiritually, practically, like a natural law balancing things out.
A kind of moral physics.
You could say that. And this connects to how he viewed the moral path of history. When the Fugitive Slave Law passed, he was scathing about politicians like Daniel Webster, seeing them as men without self-respect, without character, just following power.
Lacking that inner compass.
Precisely. And he contrasted that sharply with someone like John Brown.
The abolitionist.
Right. Emerson admired Brown deeply, calling him a pure idealist, someone who genuinely lived by the Golden Rule and the Declaration of Independence, even to the point of saying, better that a whole generation should pass away by a violent death than that one word of either should be violated.
Wow. That's absolute conviction.
It is. It highlights that difference between acting out of duty or convention versus acting from a deep, unshakable moral core.
And for Emerson, which moment really showed America aligning with that higher moral law?
Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. He saw that as the moment the country finally committed itself to justice, aligning with a law of nature, it was, for him, the nation relieving itself of its crime and false position, finally getting right with the universe, so to speak.
A national act of self-reliance in a way, turning towards its own stated ideals.
Exactly. And who embodied this spirit of self-reliance, this living by inner truth, better than Henry David Thoreau?
Ah, Thoreau. His friend and disciple, in a sense.
Yeah. Emerson called him a speaker and actor of the truth. Think about his actions. They weren't just eccentricities, they were principles lived out, like refusing to make another pencil after he'd perfected one. Why? I would not do again what I have done once.
Ha! Stick to the original.
Right. Building the cabin at Walden, refusing to pay his poll tax as a protest against slavery and the Mexican-American War.
Right.
All expressions of his original judgment, living by his own internal law.
Even his slightly odd insistence that Concord, Massachusetts was the absolute best place in the world for observing nature.
Even that whim, as Emerson called it, it showed his dedication to his own unique perspective, his own way of seeing and being in the world. Thoreau really walked the talk of self-reliance.
Okay, so what a journey through Emerson's thought. We've covered his radical call for self-trust, that deep connection to nature as a spiritual teacher, his really demanding ideas about true friendship.
Yeah, his sharp observations on national character, like the English, and that unwavering belief in moral progress in aligning with universal laws.
His ideas really push us, don't they? To look inward, to question the status quo, to demand real authenticity in ourselves and our relationships. He keeps reminding us there are resources in us on which we have not drawn.
Absolutely. Which brings us to that final thought. Emerson declared, "The world is nothing, the man is all." So if that's true, and if the soul knows no persons, and the real value of your work is knowledge and virtue, what does that mean for your place in the world today?
Right. In this age of constant information, endless external pressures, how does Emerson compel you to act? Are you living from your own center? Or are you, as he might put it, still begging a cup of water of the urns of other men, something to chew on?